What's happening, guys? Sam Adams here, and welcome back to another video. And normally we have an episode of The Drop on Mondays, but because of E3 2018, I figured that publishers and developers probably chose to take the next week off, or at least go a little bit lighter than they normally would, because there aren't too many games coming out this week, which brings me into what we are actually discussing today, which is related to E3 2018 and a realization or a thought that I had that I thought I would make a video on that I feel like is worth sharing. Of course, people get excited about E3 because of the game reveals and the gameplay that's shown off, but the press conferences really kind of bring everyone together in celebration of a specific platform, and specifically speaking on the Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo sides of things, this year's conferences were very, very different. There was a stark contrast between each of these companies that I had never really noticed before, and I think was very heavy this specific year. To begin with Xbox, you had 50 games shown off, with 18 of those being exclusive to the Xbox platform, and that's a very impressive number. However, a lot of those games kind of fell flat whenever they were revealed. Of course, if you compare the reception of Battletoads to something like Halo Infinite's reveal, then you're going to be kind of, shocked and realize, oh hey, people don't care about Battletoads nearly as much as they do about Halo Infinite. But there were impactful reveals, there were impactful games that were shown off, but there was just such an abundance of games that I feel like some diamonds in the rough may get lost. Then you had PlayStation, which focused on a smaller amount of games, but also gave each of those games more focus. For instance, we saw a lot of The Last of Us Part 2, but also a lot of Spider-Man. We saw a ton of Ghost of Tsushima, but we also saw a ton of new reveals. There was a lot that was shown off during the PlayStation conference. Of course, the formatting was incredibly strange. I will never make a video where I won't say that E3 2018's PlayStation Showcase was incredibly weird, but there were games that were shown off and given the attention that each one deserved. There weren't 50 games that were shown off, but there were a small few that were shown off much more in depth. And then you had Nintendo doing the very Nintendo thing of sticking to their guns and sticking to the reasons why people buy Nintendo hardware to begin with. Of course, you had a large focus on Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, but on top of that, Super Mario Party was also revealed, and then you saw the embracing of something like Fortnite Battle Royale that shows that they're up with the times, but at the same time, there was also a very much so feeling that the show was grounded in what makes Nintendo Nintendo, and that's just a thing that the company tends to do every single year. They don't really embrace the third party as much as other companies do. They've been better with that, but it still is just sticking to its core roots with what Nintendo is bringing to the table. So that's pretty much the ecosystem that we have set up here. You've got PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo kind of side by side, but let's take a moment to imagine that one of these companies is the main pillar and the other two don't exist. Okay, let's just kind of imagine with me here. This is kind of the circumstance that I've found myself kind of contemplating whenever I'm watching these press conferences, because let's say that you just have an Xbox One. Let's say you have an Xbox One X, even the best Xbox that you can get on the market right now at the time of making this video. So if you have this and you ignore the fact that Spider-Man is coming out as a PlayStation 4 exclusive, if you ignore the fact that Super Smash Bros. Exists, if you ignore everything that Sony and Nintendo are doing, Xbox absolutely killed it with this E3, because you had the reveal of some iconic franchises, Gears of War 5, Halo Infinite, both coming back to the Xbox. You also had the reveal of a lot of indie games. Crackdown 3 is going to be coming out next year. That's going to be great. Anthem, Cyberpunk 2077. Ignore the fact that some of those games are going to be available on other platforms. If you just embrace the fact that you have an Xbox One, it is an amazing time to be playing on that piece of hardware. In the same way, if you play on PlayStation, you can ignore everything Xbox and Nintendo is bringing to the table, and you can focus on Spider-Man, you can focus on The Last of Us Part 2, you can focus on all these amazing other experiences and gameplay that was shown off at the press conference, and completely forget about the fact that Halo or Gears of War or Super Smash Bros. Ultimate ever even existed or is going to exist. With Nintendo, if you love Smash, if you love Super Mario Party, if you love Breath of the Wild and Odyssey, then you are going to be completely and totally satisfied with what was shown off at this year's show if you ignore what is going on with Xbox and PlayStation. And so with this all being presented, it's kind of difficult to take yourself out of the moment, to really focus on being a part of one experience. But that's something that I feel would benefit a lot of people, and it's going to benefit me, because going forward, I'm going to look not necessarily at where I play, but what the experiences are like. I mean, after Xbox's show, I found myself wanting an Xbox One X. I literally just got rid of an Xbox One S because I never played it, but the show they put on was so impressive that I wanted to get into that ecosystem. I wanted to embrace that. I wanted to become part of that culture because it looked amazing. On top of that, you had Xbox Game Pass shown off and all of that. I'm not going to gush about Xbox any more than I already have in other videos, but as a PlayStation dude, I still wanted to get in on those experiences, and I feel like that's where people need to kind of focus on, the experiences themselves. Whether you play on PlayStation or Xbox or Nintendo, whatever you might be doing, just take time to really bask in what your ecosystem has to offer. This is probably an idea that has been presented before. This is probably an idea that many people already embrace, but it's easy for me as somebody who covers gaming news, as somebody who is constantly kind of inundated with the culture, to get lost in the competition and not focus on seeing the forest through the trees. And that's pretty much the idea that I did want to present to you guys today. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Do you think that I'm right? Do you think that I'm wrong? Whatever you say, leave it in the comment section down below. If you happen to be new to the channel, I do upload new stuff throughout the week, and there is a ton of E3 coverage as well as a whole bunch of other videos out there if you did want to check those out. And I'm streaming on mixer.com/SamuelAdams if you ever want to stop by and say hello in person. But as for right now, I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of the week. Hopefully the drop will be back next week, but we are in that summer lull as we always tend to have, so we'll see what happens. Peace.